It's my pleasure to warmly welcome you to this webinar about effective get out the vote strategies for nonprofits and service providers. The Coalition on Human Needs is a nonpartisan organization. Most of you probably also work for nonpartisan nonprofit groups or with them. So we're not telling anyone who to vote for, but it's perfectly lawful to encourage people to vote and to help them overcome barriers to voting. It's perfectly lawful to tell people that their elected officials make decisions that matter in their lives. We know that people whose incomes are low are less likely to vote. Young people have been less likely to vote. People with disabilities have been less likely to vote. If we can encourage more voting, our democracy will be stronger and elected officials will pay more attention to the needs of their voters. One more thing before we get started, CHN has been getting out lots of information about poverty, health insurance, and more issues based on new surveys out this week. We're very, very happy that we're going to be able to share, starting tomorrow, tables for all states and for congressional districts. And if you're on the Federal Connection listserv, or had registered for our webinar last week about this, you'll be receiving it. And if you're not on those lists, let us know and we'll be delighted to add you. So today you're going to hear more about what you can do, or more of what you can do, since many of you are already engaged. I'm delighted to introduce Camila Ahmed, CHN's terrific voter engagement and outreach coordinator, who will get us going.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Hi, guys. My name is Camila. Like Debbie said, I am the Voter Engagement and Outreach Coordinator here at CHN, and I have the esteemed privilege of introducing our panelists today. Before I get into that, though, we do have a quick announcement. Over the past few weeks, we have been working on a set of voter issue guides, just to kind of like help folks talk about the issues that are at stake this election. We have 6 guides in total. It includes the care economy, healthcare, housing, food and nutrition, expanding economic support, and also protecting our democracy. And so we'll have these guides to you, and we'll send them to you in the follow-up email. They are currently in like very simple text format, mostly for informational purposes, but also for easy print, and feel free to use them however you see fit. And then towards the end of the month, we'll actually be sending out like a social media toolkit version of it, where we'll have like graphics that can be easily shared to Instagram, sample tweets that can be easily shared to Twitter and threaded together. And yeah, you can feel free to share those on your personal or your organization's social media pages. We've been working really hard on that, and we're just excited to release it, and we hope it's helpful to you in the work that you do. Without further ado, we're going to go into announcing our speakers. We have Rachael Jeck, the co-founder and executive director at Register Her. We have Dimitri Moïse, they, the deputy director of student engagement and patient advocacy at Vot-ER. We have Heather Bryant, the lead faith organizer at Fair Count. And then we have Ani Kalemjian, the Deputy Director of Partner Success at VoteRev Action Fund. And so we're really excited to hear from them. You'll hear more about who they are and what they do in their presentations, but we're so excited to have them here, and we hope that, that their expertise is helpful to you in your voter engagement work this cycle. Thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Rachael.
Great, thank you so much. And I will ask for our slides to be brought up so that I can use that as a form to give the presentation. And I think Leo's helping with that.
I don't think I have slides.
If you don't, Nicole from our team does. Leo?
Oh, can Nicole share?
Would you like Nicole to do it?
Yeah, no problem. Let me grab them.
Thank you so much, Nicole. So hi, my name is Rachael Jeck, and while Nicole sees if she can get it in presentation mode, I'll just start. I am the co-founder and executive director of Register Her. We are a 501c3, and our sole purpose is to register and activate women voters, young women, women of color, and women in underrepresented communities. And I was really excited to have the opportunity to come and talk to you today. And Nicole, if you go to the second slide, about how to engage with folks when you're not used to being in that business and when that is not essential, kind of one of the essential services that you provide. Nicole, can you go to the second slide?
So it's showing the second one on my end, and it's showing presentation mode.
is?
So if
Okay,
not,
I
I'm going to have
can't-
to download it as a PDF because I'm sharing it right from Google right now. So if you
Okay,
give me like 30 seconds, I can
Sure.
turn
Okay,
it to
thank you.
PDF.
I appreciate that. And
That'd
I
be
do
easier.
want to, if you all don't mind, I'm just going to wait for the slide, even though I could give this in my sleep, but I think it will help guide our conversation. I do want to talk to you a little bit about how 501c3s can and cannot engage. As Deb mentioned, it is absolutely okay to talk about voting, and it is absolutely okay to let people know that there are issues that affect their lives, your life, that things that you care about in common. You are not out to convince anyone how to vote, who to vote for. You never need to talk about a political party, frankly, or a candidate. The way that I like to think of it when I talk to folks is that you are a host or a hostess inviting someone to enter a room. You are asking someone to join a conversation, and that is your role as a service provider. And I actually wanted to share, because I think this statistic, thank you, Nicole, so much, is pretty shocking. More than 60% of adult citizens have never been asked before to register to vote. That is especially for some of us on this call who maybe get texts and phone calls all day long, it is shocking that a full 60% of adults never are communicated with about voting. And we're out to change that. And that's through the power of nonprofit service providers. A great organization, nonprofitvote.org, they have great resources. They have a pretty healthy research budget, and they just did a big research report that you can read the full thing online. But they found that when nonprofits engage in civic education and bring that kind of information to their clients, it boosts voter turnout by a full 10%. And for communities of color and historically marginalized group, it actually jumps up to 12%. So we are talking about a significant increase when people are invited to engage by nonprofits and by essential service providers. And so that, in case you needed convincing, to me, these numbers make the case for why all of us need to invite people into the room of participating in democracy. Okay, so the next slide. Thank you, Nicole. So there's something called the negative feedback loop. And that negative feedback loop happens when campaigns, and particularly candidates, they're after the what they call the low-hanging fruit, the people who are most likely to vote. So campaigns often don't make contact with low propensity voters. So they don't make contact, people don't vote, then they're marked as unlikely to vote, and then the campaigns skip them again. And that cycle just goes round and round and perpetuates. The way that we can break that cycle is the way that the Register Her model and all of the partners who are presenting to you today, I think, work in this spirit where community-based outreach is the way to go, because community-based organizations have the relationships and the trust of the people that they serve. And there's a lot of social science data out there that shows that when people are asked to vote by someone they know and trust, they are more likely to vote. So you have trusted relationships. You do their outreach. In our case, it's through women-based organizers, and you bring them that invitation, those voting resources, that education and information, and then suddenly you're creating more voters. So you're creating a positive feedback loop and breaking the cycle of the negative feedback loop. Okay, next slide. So what are some of the common fears? We know that people are very reluctant to talk about voting. And what is fascinating to me when I talk to many social service providers is that they talk about some of the most difficult subjects imaginable: hunger, safety for their families, housing, having a roof over your head. And yet it feels more uncomfortable than to talk about something like voting. And that's because politics, particularly at this time in our country, are more divisive than they've ever been, and politics feel too personal. So we say, okay, we acknowledge that politics are divisive, politics are personal, but again, reframe the conversation. We're not asking clients about their political opinions. We're inviting them to be part of a conversation that they have been left out of. So once again, view yourself as a host or a hostess. You're inviting someone into a room just to check it out and hear. It's like inviting someone to a library and saying, hey, check out all the titles we have. See if there's something that interests you. See if there's something you want to read. I think it's vitally important that you make it clear when talking to someone that you are not out to put it out there in the very beginning of the conversation. I'm not here to convince you how to vote, who to vote for. I just want to talk to you about why it's actually in your best interest, not in someone else's best interest, to vote. That voting is a power that you lose when you don't vote. And not only do you lose it, you actually give someone else more power, because if the person next to you votes and votes in a way that's against your best interest, it's almost like a 2-for-1 if you're not voting. And so really to explain that it is a power in their best interest, they're not doing it for anyone else. It is an advocacy tool. It is a way to take agency. And those are some of the kinds of conversation starters and verbiage that we like to give people to make them feel a little bit more comfortable about engaging in a conversation to vote. Next slide. So what are some of the best practices for 501c3 folks? Remember, you can talk about issues. You can talk about facts. It is a fact to say whether or not abortion access is on your ballot. That is not advocating for a side. It is letting people know the fact that it might be on a ballot in your state. Obviously, you don't tell someone how to vote, who to vote for, or what party to vote for. You can talk about the programs that your organization runs and how they are funded either through federal or state or combination of both funding and from budgets at the federal and state level. And that budget is a political process. It is decided by people who are either elected or appointed, and that you want to make sure that people are elected who prioritize the programs that they're receiving. And it is okay to talk about that. It is okay to say the federal government gives us X, millions of dollars each year to make sure that kids can attend free preschool, or that, that there's rent relief, or whatever it is that your organization deals with. It is okay to talk about programs and funding. You can provide nonpartisan voter guides. I wrote the names of 3 here, which are actually embedded links, but when we share this with you, we will, you'll be able to access the links to those nonpartisan voter guides. Encourage people to get educated on the issues they care about. Let them know they do not need to fill out a complete ballot. It is overwhelming. A lot of people say that they just feel overwhelmed. They wouldn't know how to start, but if there's one issue or one candidate that they think they know about or that they want to vote on, they can do that and nothing else. And so it's really important for people to know that's not an incomplete ballot. Their vote will, and that oftentimes voting on things that are local and at the state and city level are the most important things to vote for, because those are the things that most directly impact your life. I just want to highlight for a moment that in having conversations with people about voting, it is considered best practice, and we strongly encourage people to sign up for mail-in or absentee voting if that is an option in your state. And again, we will drop a link to that shows where that's available. There's a link where you can say, you just put in your state, and it will let you know if absentee mail-in ballot is available for no excuse, because life happens. And despite our best plans, we may have a sick child, we may be sick ourselves, we may not be able to get off of work, the lines may be longer at the polls than we anticipated. There are so many things that get in the way with people voting on election day, that having the option for that mail-in ballot is really boosts voter turnout and ensures that your vote will be counted. Next slide. Okay, so the way that Register Her specifically reaches and activates marginalized women is by doing these customized civic education trainings to staff at social service agencies in our 6 target states for 2024, which are Arizona, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Texas. We will be adding more next year. The purpose, and I encourage all of you to think this way, is to train staff at agencies about the power of civic engagement and voting, and because many times staff are not registered to vote. And unless staff are civically engaged and understand the importance of it, they cannot be expected to bring that message to clients. But if they feel invested, and if they feel inspired and motivated to vote, they're much more likely to share that messaging and that invitation. So train your staff. There are so many toolkits available. There are so many opportunities to train. We'll train for free. If you happen to be in one of our 6 states, we will try to connect you with others if you're not in our states. And the goal, like I said, is to educate and motivate and basically train an army of trusted service providers so that they can invite those people, again, into the room to join the conversation. Next slide, please. So just a very quick overview of what a training consists of. I think it's very important to not just talk about underrepresentation in broad abstract goals. That doesn't mean a lot, but to give specific examples of what underrepresentation looks like the fact that right now in Detroit, in a city that is over 72% Black, there is not Black representation in Congress for the first time in nearly 7 decades. So we need to give concrete examples to people in their communities about what underrepresentation looks like. We need to give examples of certain close elections so that when people say my vote doesn't matter, they can understand that elections are lost by a handful, a dozen, a couple hundred, a couple thousand votes cast. And when they start to hear those numbers, they kind of look around a room and say, wow, I know 100 people, I know 50 people. Yeah, I guess my vote really does matter. So we really try to be very specific. We provide on-demand videos, 1-minute videos about why voting matters so much, because we don't expect social service providers to become voter registration experts. We arm them with handouts and materials so that they can just be, again, the person who's passing things out, the usher at the door, right? And then we connect people with what we call our Register Her Fellows, which are organizers in the field who can actually assist with that voter registration. I'm close to the end of my time and close to the end of my slides. Next slide. So what can your organization do with less than 8 weeks to go? Make sure your staff are educated and motivated and registered themselves. Take advantage of tools that are being offered to you and content that's readily available at no charge. Send emails or post on your website or in your newsletter information about voting. We have like a 14-week messaging thing, and you can consolidate it into 7 weeks and send out 2 a week that gives messages on where to register and what the deadlines are and how to sign up for mail-in ballots. But sharing information is a huge way, making it really accessible right there in their inboxes or right there on your website or right there in your newsletter instead of having them have to go online and search for it. If you have in-person clients, I highly suggest hosting just one. Make it a goal to have one voter registration event on site. There are so many organizations that will come and table for you, and all you need to do is pick a day and a time. I'm sure any of the partners on this call could help with that. And lastly, if you're overwhelmed, let one of us do the heavy lifting. Just schedule a time to talk and we can handle it. Nicole is dropping my Calendly link in the chat. I'm sure everyone else will be readily available as well, and we will help bring voter registration to your organizations. And I think that was it. So there's my contact information. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Alrighty, up next, I believe we have Dimitri.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Camilla. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Rachel. Wonderful to follow you. Tough act to follow. Hi, everyone. My name is Dimitri Moïse. I'm Deputy Director for Student Engagement and Patient Advocacy at Vot-ER. My pronouns are they, he, and I'm a proud New Yorker, born and raised in Queens, best borough, ha ha ha. if any of you have been. I will share all of the resources that I'm talking about today to you all so that you can have them accessible to you in a quick one-pager. So today I'm excited to talk about Vot-ER and the work that we are doing with young voters and students across the country. Vot-ER is exploring the intersections between healthcare and democracy, and we're revolutionizing voter engagement by transforming routine healthcare visits into opportunities for civic empowerment, voter registration, partnering with trusted health professionals, and reaching historically underrepresented communities. In every clinic and hospital across America, there is untapped potential to strengthen our democracy. And I'm really honored to be here to talk about something that is very personal for me, how voting is not just a civic responsibility, but a fundamental factor in our health. As someone who has lived his life openly with HIV, I know firsthand how critical it is for us to raise our voices, whether it's in a doctor's office or at the ballot box. When I was diagnosed with HIV, I realized how closely my health outcomes were tied to policies made by people in power. And it was through these policies that I was able to access life-saving medication and treatment. And today, as a patient advocate, I work to ensure that others can advocate for their health by exercising their right to vote. So at Vot-ER, we work to connect healthcare and democracy because we recognize that these two are not separate. In fact, the American Medical Association has formally recognized voting as a social determinant of health. So what does this mean? It means that just like access to housing, education, or nutrition, your ability to vote impacts your health outcomes. The decisions made by elected officials shape healthcare policies, access to care, and the overall well-being of our communities. So at Vot-ER, I'm proud to help lead our Healthy Democracy campaign. And this taps into this critical intersection by equipping healthcare students to help their patients and peers register to vote. When students ask, are you registered to vote? They're doing so much more than just fulfilling a civic duty. They're contributing to healthier communities. And so from September to Election Day, our students join in for a healthy competition and are equipped with our free nonpartisan Vot-ER tools and resources and coaches. And our coaches consist of our fantastic state organizers who are on the ground in some of the most critical states to this year's election. And in this year's HDC, we have welcomed over 300 participants and counting from over 40 states across the US. And so students then team up via campus and earn points, climb up our leaderboard, and encourage their peers and patients to register and turn out to vote. This next generation of health professionals are some of the best positioned to empower our community members to register to vote and do it all in a fully nonpartisan way. And from personal experience helping to lead this program the last few years, I see how the HDC helps students make grassroots organizing fun. From throwing voter registration cookouts to nurturing community health clinic partnerships to pushing for time off to vote policies on their campuses for students and employees, I am seeing year after year that gamifying the voter registration process and yes, even encouraging some healthy competition can inspire students to innovate, think outside the walls of a doctor's office, and lead with joy in doing this really, really tough work. And so we've seen firsthand how voting also impacts everything from healthcare access to insurance policies and even the distribution of life-saving resources. When you vote, you're not just choosing leaders, you're choosing policies that can determine whether or not you have access to the care that you need. And so as guardians of health, our students are at the forefront of democracy, where they are igniting change through our Healthy Democracy campaign. In addition, it's not just about regular elections. The power of voting also extends to moments of crisis. So through our patient voting program, we help patients who find themselves unexpectedly hospitalized cast their ballots through emergency absentee voting. Imagine being in a hospital bed or a friend or family member battling an illness and realizing you haven't voted in an important election that could impact your healthcare access. Vot-ER works to ensure that these patients can still have their voices heard because we understand that these decisions are made at the ballot box, and we can do that through the emergency voting process. Now, I want to speak more directly to the importance of voting as a social determinant of health. voting influences everything, from how hospitals are funded to the quality of healthcare services in underserved communities. And when marginalized populations vote, they can push for better access to care, more equitable health policies, and resources that directly address their needs. This is why voting isn't just a political act, it's a health intervention, a nonpartisan health intervention. It's a way for individuals who can assert control over their own health outcomes by influencing the policies that affect their care. And so let's address the challenges we face when we talk about voting. Like Rachael mentioned, I also have encountered people who are either disengaged from voting because they feel their vote doesn't matter or they're frustrated with the system. And I've had these difficult conversations where people are expressing doubts, even frustration, to say the least, and it is understandable. For many, the system has failed them time and time again. But I like to remind them that change truly comes from active participation, and that if we all participate, we can shape these policies to ensure better healthcare access for all. And one of the most effective solutions I have found is to reframe the conversation around health. A lot of people don't really connect voting, health, democracy. So when we talk about voting, we're not just talking about politics. We're talking about protecting our health and the health of our families. In every election, healthcare policies are on the ballot, whether it's funding for hospitals, reproductive health care, access to HIV medication, or mental health services. These decisions impact our lives directly. Voting is one of the most powerful ways to influence the policies that govern our care. And so for those of you, all of you who are working in nonprofits and maybe healthcare institutions, I urge you to embrace this message. Engaging in nonpartisan voter registration is not only legal and safe for your organizations, but it's also an essential part of caring for your communities. By integrating voter registration, we believe, into healthcare spaces, we can ensure that the people we serve are not only healthy in the short term, but empowered to advocate for their long-term well-being as well. So as we move forward in this work, let's focus on the intersections between healthcare and democracy. These are not separate domains. They are deeply intertwined. And when we vote, we don't just select representatives. We're choosing health policies that will shape our communities for generations to come. So now, as we approach our GOTV season, it's important to talk about how each of us can take action to make sure people are not just registered, but ready to vote. I know that having conversations about voting can be tough. People are frustrated, like we said, but there are a couple of simple, easy micro actions that we can take to use and make a difference. And it all starts with personal engagement. Here are a couple of actions you can take. If you have a pen, or since you're on a computer, you can type this down. Text 3 friends and ask if they're registered to vote. I know you'll be getting a ton of voter registration links, and we'll share ours as well. And this may seem like a small action, but studies do show that personal outreach, especially one-on-one relational organizing, and in a year like this, I'm seeing that in-person engagement, texting personally, is really one of the most effective ways to get people to register and show up on election day. And think about having those nonpartisan conversations too. You can even role play with someone to really make sure that you can get that nonpartisan language under your belt. It's important to keep the focus on why voting matters. Let people know that voting affects everything from healthcare to funding to policies that govern access to medications and care. You don't have to talk about who to vote for, but rather why it's crucial to vote. And then 3, stay informed about local issues. Your local elections have just as much, if not more, impact on your day-to-day life as national elections. So encourage your friends, your family, colleagues to pay attention to what's happening in their communities, whether it's healthcare funding, public health policies, school board elections. Local policies make a huge, huge difference. And we'll share these resources. At Vot-ER, we've created a wide range of tools to help you take these actions. If you're looking for ways to easily integrate voter registration into your work, I highly encourage you to check out our toolkits on our website's resource hub, which we'll share. From badges that link directly to voter registration pages, to flyers with our emergency voting information, social media toolkits, get out the vote toolkits, National Voter Registration Day toolkits. We have everything you need to help people register and vote. And these tools are easy to use, nonpartisan, and designed to meet people where they are, whether it's in a hospital, on campus, in the community. And then you can also find us on Mobilize, which showcases a list of our upcoming events organized by Vot-ER, where you can sign up and participate. It includes opportunities like phone banking, text banking, community outreach events, again, all aimed at integrating civic engagement in healthcare spaces and supporting voter registration efforts. So before I pass things over to the next speaker, as you all prepare for the upcoming election, remember that voting is health. It shapes the policies that govern access to care, prescription drugs, mental health services, and more. It's not just a civic duty, it's a matter of personal and community well-being. When you vote, you're choosing the kind of healthcare system you want for yourself, your loved ones, and future generations. I want to emphasize that our democracy works best when everyone participates. So again, by texting 3 friends and then tell them to text 3 friends, having nonpartisan conversations, staying informed about local issues, and using Vot-ER's resources, you can make a real difference in this election together. Together, we can create a healthy, more inclusive democracy, one vote at a time. So thank you all again for being here. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me on behalf of Vot-ER. Let's create a healthier democracy, okay? One vote at a time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dimitri. That was awesome. And I also forgot to thank Rachael. Thank you so much. Both of you guys, phenomenal presentations. Up next, we have Heather Bryant, again, the lead faith organizer at Faircount. Heather, I think you're still on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. But thank you, Camilla. Again, I am Heather Bryant. I'm a lead faith organizer here at Faircount. And so I'm just going to go over a little bit of information. And a lot of it actually ties into what Rachael and Dimitri have already said. But, you know, that's how it is organizing in the nonprofit space is really good being in such good company today. I'm ready for the next slide. So today we're just going to talk about Faircount, who we are, what we do, and I'm going to really lean into faith-based organizing and mobilization. A lot of nonprofits actually register people to vote. Faircount does not register people to vote, but we do mobilize and we educate and we organize in the communities that we live in. Next, after that, we're going to have a little reflection time. So I have my chat open if you all want to post some things in the chat. And then we're going to talk about some action statements. Next slide, please. So Faircount, who we are and what we do. So Faircount is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We work to build long-term power in our communities. A lot of the communities that we work in have been historically undercounted in the decennial census. You know, we had the census in 2020. And among COVID, among other things, there were a whole lot of issues with that. So we work, that's our North Star. That's where we start all of our work from. And then, of course, we have a fair census, which leads to fair redistricting and fair voting. And that is a lot of the work that we do. So what is civic engagement? Civic engagement is a broad term that spans hearing, voting, activism, campaigning, boycotting, a lot of mutual aid efforts, a lot of things like that. So whether we know it or not, a lot of people are actually involved in civic engagement, even if they don't realize it. The next slide, please. Faircount really leans on the 3 pillars of democracy, right? We believe that the census, redistricting, and voting are essentially what's holding up our democracy. And so in a healthy democracy, then everyone will be counted. And in a healthy democracy, all lines are fairly drawn and people will be in the districts that they're supposed to, and voting will be simple and easy, and everyone will get a chance to vote, and we'll have fair elections. That's in an ideal democracy. Next slide, please. However, with the census being our North Star and it's held every 10 years, we understand that if the census is off, then that throws off redistricting, and then it's harder to have fair elections, and that really affects our citizenship, our funding for different programs. That affects how lines are drawn and who your representation is on the state level, on the federal level, even on the local level. So it's really important to keep those three things in line for a strong and healthy democracy. Next slide. So if you have your chat available, if you can look at this slide, does anyone that's watching, have you ever heard of any of these programs that are census dollars, right? So every 10 years, the government will direct funds to 360, 350 federal programs. And if you've ever used any, or if you ever knew anyone that used any, then these are just an example of some of these. I know a lot of people might not even realize how much the National School Lunch Program, right, is affected by correct census, correct redistricting and voting and all of that stuff. So these are just some things and how they affect your everyday life. Next slide, please. So in the faith community, we work through faith partnerships. We work through faith organizing, and we have a great program through our Faith and Innovation Resources program. That's a technology-based program that really, really helps the communities that we work in. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about how we mobilize and how we organize, and just give you an example of some strategies and tools. So I work with a lot of different faith communities, a lot of Black churches where that people of faith congregate and come together, right? So we have literature, and that's just one way to really, really reach people. So along with your church program, when the usher is handing out your church program or something like that, then we also give you this little literature. It's just something that you can look and check and say, hey, have I made a commitment to keep my congregation and community informed? And it's a checkbox. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe it's something that I can put on my refrigerator with all of the voting dates, the deadline to register, the site to check my voter registration, and it fits in the palm of my hand. We also have other literature. I know you can't see it right here, but we have other literature that has an example of some positions that may be on your ballot, and a small blurb about how that affects your everyday life. Because that's what we found. If we're working in faith communities, you have some people who are voting out of tradition, and then you have some people who still want to learn more about, well, why should I vote? Why should I vote all the way down the ballot? How do those positions all the way down there affect me? Well, we have literature that has a little blurb in it. We also, of course, if we're going into faith spaces, might have a good old church fan that has vote on it, along with our vote365.org website and a QR code. So while you're sitting in church, you pull out that church fan and say, hey, what's this QR code? It's just one of the tools that we can use to reach people. You go there, you can see, voter ID information. What's that like? What state am I in? How does that affect me? Things like that. And it's right there in the palm of your hand. Next slide, please. We also have toolkits because, like Rachael said, we're a 501c3 working with other 501c3s. And that's one thing that a lot of pastors and congregations are really, really concerned about, whether or not, hey, what can I say from the pulpit? What can I not say from the pulpit? You know, what's safe, what's not safe. And we have these toolkits that will pretty much guide them. Like Rachel said, you don't have to endorse any political party. Fair Count does not endorse any political party. We don't advocate for the election or defeat of any political candidate or party. And so we then tell pastors or faith leaders how to do the same thing, how to communicate that to their congregations. You know. All right, then we have the Faith and Innovation Resources Program. I love this picture. It's right here in the county that I live in, Georgia. And you can see that it's people learning how to use this app to communicate with their church members, their congregation. They can send emails, they can send text messages that they can't reply to, which I love because I don't like text threads. So you can send out a text message and say, hey, don't forget to vote. Early voting starts on this day, you know, and it puts the power of that communication back in the church's hands. And it lets them be able to communicate with their congregations of 30 to 3,000 all in the click of their hand. So it's a really great program. And of course, we have the people. The people that we work with are the most important part of what we do. So with Fair Count, I live in this community. So I'm able to see how those census dollars affect my community and how the census dollars or being undercounted affects a community that might be 20 or 30 minutes to the west of me versus the resources that a community has that's 20 or 30 minutes to the north of me, right? And so we can see that there are certain communities that are food deserts. There are certain people, certain communities that have overcrowded classrooms that may not be the case in my community. And so reaching the people and having those people mobilize in their own communities is a really great tool that we're able to use. Next slide. All right, so a little bit of reflection time. So what tools do you have or do you need to organize and mobilize? Next slide, please. All right, so in a healthy democracy, people need to be seen, heard, and counted. So what does this mean to you and your community? And how can your faith institution or community be seen, heard, or counted? And of course, we say faith communities, right? But I just want to be clear that we understand that people in faith communities are everywhere. So just as an example, you know, Dimitri was talking about Vot-ER, and I actually held a workout session at a local community nutrition bar, right? And no, that's not necessarily the four walls of the church, but those are people that need to get that information as well. They need to get health information. And we just, you know, congregate where we are. We educate people where we are. Okay, next slide. Relational organizing is also something that's really important in organizing. So it's defined as a tool within a broader organizing strategy to build power in which individuals, groups, and organizations harness their personal networks and relationships to affect change. So I kind of think of it like this. Like I have a core friend group that I've been friends with for like 30 years, right? But we all went to different colleges. We all work in different industries. We all have different jobs. So I know people that they don't know. They know people that I don't know. So when I come to them and ask them to vote and I educate them about census and redistricting and voting and how it affects their everyday lives, it's on a personal level. They can then personally go out to people that they have in their network that I don't know. And those people are more likely to listen to them touch them and move based on what they've said versus me, who I may be a stranger to them. So how can you incorporate or use some of the relational strategizing, relational organizing strategies that we've described? So I just explained one way that I could, and hopefully you all can think of ways to activate your networks. Next slide, please. All right, resources. So I just said Fair Count has literature, we have toolkits, we have technology, we have peoples, and we have partners. Right there in that picture, we have Vote Riders. Vote Riders is a great partner. They help people to get IDs for if they're in states that you need an ID to vote. They help people get birth certificates if you don't have a birth certificate, and they have a lot of information on how to get that information in your particular state. So what do you have and what can you start to use in your organization, right? Or in your everyday life? All right. Now, who do you want to engage in your particular community? We talked about our personal circles and things like that. The faith community that I work in, those are kind of the spaces that I target. But who do you want to engage in your community? Also, what resources already exist that you can use to amplify engagement? Like, are you an influencer? Do you have a little following on social media? How's that going? What's your platform like? What resources already exist that you can use to amplify engagement? And what resources did you learn about today that you would like to try? Anything that you want to create, anything that you see that hasn't been created and you have it in your brain, you want to bring it to the forefront? What resources did you learn about today that you would like to try? So next slide, please. All right, and we're going to talk about this action statement. All right, so your personal action statement. My goal in 2024 is to engage which community? It may be women, it may be women of color, it may be LGBT, it may be the rural South, whatever community. Just fill in the blank yourself. So my goal is in 2024 is to engage which community to help them be seen, heard, or counted in our democracy. I already have what resources in your hands to help amplify engagement efforts. And I like to try using a new resource as a new way. You can scroll. I'm sorry. Can you scroll to the next slide? Oh, okay. Well, all right. So we have those engage those action statements. Okay, so now if you're in the chat, can you all put some of your action statements? What communities would you like to engage? All right. And do you want to help that community be seen, heard, or counted? Yeah, the unhoused community. Okay. And I already have which existing resource do you already have to help amplify engagement? Young people is a great community to engage as well. Email lists, network contacts, those are all good existing resources to help amplify efforts. And And I'd like to try using which new resource as a way, and I'm sorry, it's the bottom of my screen that I can't see. That's what I apologize, as a new way to organize and mobilize the community. So underserved people to be seen, heard, and have their voices heard. Okay, a street festival to amplify clients and community at large. Listen, we love a party. We love a festival. We love a party. Yes, you want church fans for your community. That's what I'm talking about, Dimitri. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, you can always contact info@faircount.org. And then my supervisor, who is the great supervisor, Danita at faircount.org, you all can reach out to them. Please, please, please reach out to us and engage with us. And we would love to share some resources with you and hear how you are serving and engaging with your communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather. That was wonderful. Up next, we have Ani from Vot-ER Action Fund. I'm really excited about this one because I had the privilege of working with Ani on her team at Vot-ER Action Fund during the 2022 cycle. So she's a good friend of mine, and they have great information about ways that you can make a huge impact in a C3 safe way and really help increase voter turnout. So, Ani?
Ooh, I am going to be super honest. In an effort to save time, because I want to make time for questions, I'm going to cut down my presentation to 5 minutes, but there is a lot here, naturally. And I'm going to start with the end, which is if you want to get in touch with us at Vot-ER, here's the information in the chat already. So we are ready to go. You'll see me skip through some of these. I just want to make sure you guys have time for questions. And so I'm going to skip through a little bit of my slides, but I am so available if you have more questions about it for this. If you want to see a much longer presentation of this, please sign up to one of our webinars coming up that will go into how actionable this is at any stage of a campaign. The challenge Vot-ER is an organization. Vot-ER Action Fund is a nonpartisan, does nonpartisan work with C3s and C4s in order to help our campaign and organization partners implement research tested tactics. So we are talking about tangible ways to reach the voters that you want to reach in the communities that you are working in. One of the tactics that we have developed is called vote tripling. A version of that we will talk about today has been tested to show proven impact among communities. It is fully nonpartisan. It can be done in both ways, but we were going to talk fully nonpartisan today. And the challenge that we essentially try to solve with tactics like the one I'm going to share is that we know, like has been mentioned on this call already, traditional get out the vote tactics just cannot possibly reach all voters. We know that there's research that suggests, which I can share a citation with you later, that 1 in 5 Americans are just incorrectly listed or missing in the data that we use to build our contact list. So most organizations or campaigns are pulling lists from the same source, and that source is missing data. We are particularly not including those low propensity voters in our outreach lists. And one tactic that we have tested to try to solve for this is site-based vote tripling. So we know there are voters that we are simply not going to be able to reach. We also know that it is particularly valuable to have those relational contacts. And instead of getting a cold message from an organization where we're texting people or knocking on doors or making calls, those are really useful. But there are people that are just not going to be responsive to that message. The message they will be responsive to is a message from a friend. So we've heard already about like relational work. This is relational turnout. We've heard about reaching voters we need to win. This is a tactic you can do that is an in-person tactic that you conduct during election day and during early vote and on election day. If you are an organization that has not run a Get Out the Vote program before, if you do some direct voter contact, but not a lot, or if you are established and really successful in running robust, seasoned voter contact tactics like door knocking or phone banking, any one of those 3 levels of experience and expertise, you can run a site-based vote tripling program. Because all you need are people, locations, and a bit of training. And we help immensely with the training piece with our partners. That is what we do the most. We also help with like the programming piece, to like thinking through how to layer this to get the maximum impact from within to reach the voters you want to reach. Site-based vote tripling in a nutshell is you have volunteers, paid or volunteer canvassers, usually volunteers, because volunteers tend to really like this activity. So if you have people who want to get involved, but you don't know what to give them, this is a really good thing, because you have them stand at high traffic areas, at events. You can do this at religious institutions that have permitted, obviously in a nonpartisan way. You can do this at polling locations, nonpartisan, outside of electioneering limits, at college campuses. We do this at grocery stores. We do it at Social Security offices. Have folks stand outside, ask people who pass by to just stop and remind 5 or more friends to vote right then and there. Their friends are then receiving a reminder to vote during the voting period from their most trusted messenger. So you are immediately not only getting the person you are talking to, telling them to vote and remember to vote, not who to vote for, just to vote, but you are getting them to immediately talk to their friends about voting. And they are going to reach way more people than you are going to be able to reach in other contact methods. The reason we ask people to remind their friends to vote is that every election, millions of people just don't get asked to vote. It's the same with, the people who are not getting asked to register to vote. People saying, oh, I forgot, didn't have time, etc., is one of the top reasons people didn't vote in 2020. And Black and brown folks, low income folks, people who are already at risk of being disenfranchised are much less likely to receive engagement and to be on lists of voters who get invited to vote. So you are basically reaching them through their friends. I'm again going to skip through here a little bit. There's a lot of really good stuff here, but I just wanted to share that we know this works because we ran a massive randomized control on it. Basically, that just means we tested it in a nonpartisan way during the Georgia runoff, and we learned some really interesting things. This tactic on campus, at high traffic locations, events, and on campuses, really anywhere where your people are, just asking people to remind their friends to vote, watching them send those reminders, and maybe giving them like a sticker or something for it, reached the people we want to be reaching with our work, right? 46% of the people who got that timely reminder from a friend did not have phone numbers in a voter file, so they would not have been on anyone's list. Many people were people who had a turnout score, so these are people who we scientifically know, based on their voting rates, are lower propensity voters, not because they don't want to vote, but no one's really invited lots of these folks to vote. There's lots here. I can go into it in a little bit, but I'm going to end with site-based vote tripling is a program that many types of organizations can run. You just need locations. We can help you think through those. We also have a list in each of our focus states of high traffic locations. You just need people, volunteers, canvassers, really anybody who's doing this. Folks who do voter registration work are really good at this. And this is a good secondary ask to voter registration, in fact. We'll help you collect data on paper. If you work with us, we can usually write you like a little report at the end of a cycle, so you can maybe share that with donors or funders or partners and see the impact of your work. And we just help our partners in our target, and all of our focus states are our swing states, and we help partners across our swing states in implementing this tactic in their programs. We do that by helping folks plan. We coach on, with calls and things like that. We'll help take the burden of training and resource development off of your plate to make sure that you are just focusing on getting the people and the locations to do this. And it can be scaled at any point. And so this tactic is done during early vote and on election day, but you can plan it at the beginning of early vote to happen later. And so it is simply not too late for this. We are going to go in depth during our 2 nonpartisan webinars Coalition on Human Needs is helping co-host. The one in October, oh shoot, it's October 3rd is what that should say. But when you click the link, it'll be the right one. And next week, we have our first one. So if you want to learn more and see if this makes sense for you, please sign up to those webinars. You're welcome to simply also message me using the link below. And I will end this there. I'm so sorry. I actually think that we're over a minute.
Thank you so much, Annie. And thanks to all the panelists. I know we're like at 4 o'clock, but I wanted to ask the questions in the chat. And if you have any questions that you'd like the panelists to answer right now, please feel free to include them. We have a question here for the first presentation. What steps are being taken to ensure accessibility for people with disabilities and helping them register to vote?
Yeah, so we work very closely with Vote Writers also, which I know one of the other panelists mentioned. They are a great organization. They just recently, like within the past week, put out materials for voters with disabilities, and we have shared those with our partners. We routinely pass out information cards from Vote Writers so that people not only register to vote, but show up to vote successfully because they have the proper ID. There are a lot of resources online. So while we are not kind of specifically focused on registering disabled women, our mission is kind of all women. We certainly want to make voting easier for folks with disabilities. And so we try to talk to our colleagues who are kind of experts in that space. And so I'm going to just drop in the chat right now while we're answering some other questions, a few resources that we share and know of and that we rely on when we have questions about how to help voters with disabilities. So I'm just going to do that. But there are so many folks and resources out there and toolkits to help people with disabilities register to vote and vote successfully. And oftentimes, I will say that mail-in ballots are a really great way for people who are disabled to vote, because whether it's issues with mobility, needing extra time, needing assistance filling out a ballot, there are just many, many ways that process becomes easier to manage when they are able to do so from their homes or wherever they may be. But I'll go ahead and add some of those websites, including there's the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, and that's the first link that I just shared. There's also sometimes I forget all the acronyms, and I apologize for that, but the National Disabilities Resource Network is another great one, and I'm putting that in here as well. And like I said, Vote Writers has a great guide for disabled voters. So yeah, I think that should be a good start. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Another question here is, will the programs on September 19th and October 3rd will be recorded for viewing?
That's a great question. Yeah, we will record them. My best recommendation is sign up to the one you think you would likely join. And we will record it and send it to the list of attendees and signups after. So even if you miss it, we will send it to you.
Thanks, Annie. And then we have a question from Rebecca. She's a filmmaker based in Denver, and she wants to connect with the folks doing civic engagement here to talk about support, and she would want to follow up with you all to work on like a civic engagement film, maybe. And I'm not sure if that's like really a question, but more of like a comment. But if no one else has questions, I just want to thank everyone for coming. We created this webinar to help our state and local and even national organizations that are unsure about what you can and can't do during the election cycle. We've been speaking to you. And we know that a lot of you feel really uncertain. Maybe you're understaffed or under-resourced. And we want to make it easy for everyone. And we want to make use of all the network and friendships and coalitions that we have, because we are in this nonprofit world. We know it's a lot. They're very short staffed, and we are really trying our best. So when I think about the Vote for Human Needs campaign, I'm just thinking of facilitating and making things easier. So please reach out to me, and Camila can put my email in the chat, or Camila, she has a Calendly. If you need to kind of talk to someone and hash things out on what you can do, we can meet with you. Or if you directly want to talk to Rachel Rachael or Annie or Dimitri, reach out to them and they will make this happen for you. And we want to make sure that you have actionable steps that you can take back to your staff, to your clients, to the people that you serve, so that you can make a difference. We have a limited amount of time to get a lot done. So one of the first steps is getting educated and then passing along that information to everyone. But thank you again, and thank you to all the panelists for doing an amazing job. And I'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Bye.